Thursday, would you like to open for us with some of your translations? Where the subject, I originally said last week we were going to talk about the poetry of silence, but then I realized this is the closest Wednesday night to Valentine's. So when I sent out the email today, it said this would be about love, but you can combine them if you didn't get the email.
Okay, well, I certainly be happy to.
Thank you.
Give me a second or two to go to my Hafiz folder. All right, what is good for Hafiz today? I did Ghazal 100. Let's see if it's done in its completion. Nope, that's a long one. That is work in progress. Okay, here's 99. Oh, it says needs to be reviewed. So I guess you'll just have to forgive the errors. I can risk it with you guys, right?
Absolutely.
All right, here it goes. That arc, your playful brow tossed into the arrow, intended for the life of this weak and lamentable soul of mine. Drunk and flushed, you walk through the meadow. Your beauty has cast a fire onto the Judas tree. Love existed before the creation of the two worlds. It is not from this time that love came into being. The amaryllis attempted to seduce with its coquetry, but the allure of your eye threw 100 intrigues in the world. Last night, I was passing through the meadow, became drunk when I saw a rosebud and thought that it was your mouth. The pansy was flaunting its beauty, tying knots in its wavy tresses, when the morning brought the fragrance of your hair and put her out of business. When I likened the face of the jasmine to your face, from shame, it took a handful of dirt from the breeze and put it to its mouth. When I followed the righteous path of religion, I had no care for wine and song. But now I am drawn to these things owing to the irresistible charm of the sake. I now wash my stained prayer robe with the water of wine. This has been my fate from the beginning of time. The solution to Hafez's dilemma is drunkenness and disrepute. His destiny has guided him to the wine of the master. Now the world is finally to my liking, since the spin of time has brought me into the slavery of the master of the world. Jai Meher Baba.
Wow.
That's some beautiful imagery.
Fabulous. The Judas tree. I've never heard that phrase before, but I feel it felt so natural to hear it. Is that a phrase that you all have heard before?
No, I had not. I don't know about anybody else. Let's see what it says in Farsi. I closed it already. File open 99. All right, so it's the second. Okay, so, That's why I said it needs to be reviewed, because I must have gotten that reference when I looked at the word. It's the imagery of throwing water onto the fire, and the word argavan. So it's been a while since I've done this one. I'm gonna have to check into it to see what the interpretation was in the dictionary that I use. So
I loved that phrase. I thought it was very
Isn't it?
powerful, the
Yeah,
Judas thing. It, for me, it seemed like a natural phrase. And I thought then when I reflected on it, I thought I've never heard that phrase before, even though it sounded natural to my ear. It instantly, I think it instantly for me combined the image of how a tree represents life, but can also be used to kill someone. You can lynch somebody from a tree. You can tie someone to a tree and beat them, which of course has happened. And so it seems like Judas kind of represents that. He was both a disciple and a betrayer at the same time.
okay, here's what Wikipedia or online says. In Mediterranean region is often called Judas tree for the betrayer of Christ, who is said to have hanged himself from such a tree, after which the white flowers turned red with blood or shame. That's where I got the image.
Oh, the Judas tree is where he killed himself. Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
Isn't that something?
Yes, that is something. Yeah, I'm glad we talked about it. Wow. A lot of people don't know this, but every single disciple of Christ was murdered, or in this case, committed suicide.
Wow.
Yeah, they were martyred. Every single disciple of Christ was murdered.
Oh my goodness, really?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, thank God that they passed on before that happened in this Advent.
Before that happened, and what are you talking about?
Well, I mean, thank God we live in an era where that
Oh, right.
doesn't happen.
Right. Well, it's not happening to us. This happened to some people, of course.
Yeah, it ain't over yet.
And that's right. Yeah. May all those people who are dying for martyrdom today, may they all find peace. Will you read us another one?
Maybe later.
Okay. All right.
If somebody else wants to go.
Hey, who would like to go?
I could go. This is from my, where is it? From my Jewish text. The buds appear on earth, the time of bird song has come, and the dove's voice is heard in our land. O my dove, in the clefts of the rock and the crannies of the cliff, let me see your face, let me hear your voice, for your voice is sweet and your face is lovely. My beloved is mine and I am his, who shepherds among the lilies. I sleep, but my heart is awake. The voice of my beloved knocks. Open to me, my sister, my beloved, my dove, my perfect one. For my hair is full with the dew, my locks with the droplets of the night.
Sweet.
Thank you. Who would like to go next?
I could read something from Attar. This is the Conference of the Birds.
Good choice.
And this is where the hippo, who was the guide bird, taking the birds back to the source, their source, or the Simorg, reflects on Okay, the hoopoe replied, I speak to you as your guide. He who loves does not think about his own life. To love truly, a man must forget about himself, be ascetic or libertine. If desires do not accord with your spirit, sacrifice them, and you will come to the end of your journey. If the body of desire obstructs the way, reject it. Then fix your eyes in front and contemplate. An ignorant person will ask, what connection is there between belief or unbelief and love? But I say, do lovers regard their lives? The lover sets fire to all hope of harvest. He puts the blade to his neck. He pierces his body. With love comes sorrow and the heart's blood. Love loves the difficult things. O cupbearer, fill my cup with the blood of my heart, and if there be no more, give me the dregs. Love is a cruel pain that devours all things. Sometimes it tears the veil from the soul. Sometimes it draws it together. An atom of love is preferable to all that exists between the horizons. An atom of its pain better than the happy love of all lovers. Love is the very marrow of all beings. But there can be no real love without real suffering. Whoever is grounded firm in love renounces faith, religion, and unbelief. Love will open the door of spiritual poverty, and poverty will show you the way of unbelief. When there remains neither unbelief nor religion, your body and your soul will disappear. You will then be worthy of the mysteries. If you would fathom them, this is the only way.
Can you tell us the dates of that poet?
Attar was the teacher of Hafez. So I guess we're 14th century.
First, do you know much about Attar? Oh, you're on mute.
Not very much. Just, I haven't focused on that angle, but Baba did quote him often. Not as often as Hafez. I think one time I counted all the references to Hafez in Lord Maher.
I think, as I recall, I think Rumi met Attar when Rumi was young. And Attar was Hafez's master and gave him God realization.
I have also heard that the one who gave God realization is not the famous Attar with all the poems we know.
Oh.
I've heard that. I can't verify it.
Oh. I'll have to look him up now.
Yeah.
I never heard of him.
On the back, it says the 12th century.
Yeah. So for Hafez and Rumi were 14th century. So there's a discrepancy
Yeah,
there.
that's true.
I thought Hafez was 13th, 14th. He went over the line between the two centuries.
I'm not good with dates.
I'm pretty sure that's right. I'll look it up right now while we're talking.
Yeah, while we talk, Attar. Oh, not much in Wikipedia on Attar. That explains that.
Well, sort of. The dates of Hafez are 1315 to 1390. So he was just 10 years.
14th century.
Yeah. Thank you. Would you like to read another one, Telly? Do you have another one for us?
Let's see.
Or do you want us to come back to you?
Let's see. This is from a book on Hafez. And this is written translations and interpretations by Jeffrey Squires or Joffrey.
I have that book.
Okay. One rose from the world's rose garden is enough. The cool of one swaying cypress is enough. May I be spared the society of hypocrites. Of all the world's burdens, the burden of a cup is enough. Good works are rewarded with castles in heaven. For us, down and outs, this Magian ruin is enough. Sit on the riverbank and watch life passing. For we who are free from care, this symbol of transience is enough. Look at the profit and loss of the world's bazaar and all life's tribulations. If that does not convince you, for us, it is quite enough. A companion beside me, what more could I want? The blessing of that soulmate is enough. Let me not be sent to heaven just yet, away from your gate, for in all the world, the end of your street is enough. Hafez, it is wrong to complain about your fate. Away with words, a flowing guzzle is enough.
We all had
No,
Hafez.
sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say we all had Hafez on the brain today because I also brought Hafez with me, which I'm not going to read because you're here, Farishte.
Oh, why not?
Because
Actually, I remember having translated that and I'm looking for it. The one about.
oh,
not-
good. Yeah.
That'd be neat to hear your version.
Yes.
Not necessarily
learned.
better, just different. I'm still looking. It's very familiar. But carry on. Can we hear yours then, Tracey?
Caught me getting water. Well, I'll tell you why I'm not going to read mine because they're from this book.
Ladinsky.
I'm not going to read those in front of Farishte.
Oh, go ahead. I'm over it.
Instead, I'll read from this book, which are the poems that Mary Oliver wrote after her partner of 30 years passed away. It's called Thirst. And apparently when Mary Malone, Mary Oliver's partner, who she could not marry because marriages were not legal at that time, died, Mary Oliver realized that her grief was so profound that if she did not, she had two choices. She could either stay home and die, or she could leave the house. And so she attempted to leave the house, and she started to go to her church more regularly, and said this book is both a book of poetry about loss and love, and it's also a book about her attempt at finding solace in church, and really sort of admitting in the book that her attendance at her church was both successful and not successful at the same time. Which happens to us, I think, a lot when we're facing grief. I really love this book. So this first one is called These Days. When I think of her, I think of the long summer days she lay in the sun, how she loved the sun, how we spread our blanket and friends came and the dogs played. And then I would get restless and get up and go off into the woods and the fields, and the dark afternoons would soften gradually. And finally, I would come home. through the long shadows and into the house where she would be, my glorious, welcoming, tan and hungry, ready to tell me the hurtless gossips of the day, and how I listened leisurely while I put around the room flowers in jars of water, daisies, butter and eggs, and everlasting, until, like our lives, they trembled and shimmered everywhere.
Mm.
I know, right?
Yeah.
You can so see that. You can so feel that. This one's called A Pretty Song. From the complications of loving you, I think there is no end or return, no answer, no coming out of it, which is the only way to love. This isn't a playground. This is our earth, our heaven for a while. Therefore, I have given precedence to all my sudden, sullen, dark moods that hold you in the center of my world. And I say to my body, grow thinner still. And I say to my fingers, type me a pretty song. And I say to my heart, rave on.
Oh, wow. I wasn't expecting that last line.
I know, right? These are really different from what she normally writes. So this one's called More Beautiful Than the Honey Locust Tree Are the Words of the Lord. In the household of God, I have stumbled in recitation, and in my mind I have wandered. I have interrupted worship with discussion. Once I extinguished the gospel candle after all the others, but never held the cup in my mouth, lagging in gratitude. The Lord forgives many things, so I have heard. The deer came into the field. I saw her peaceful face and heard the shuffle of her breath. She was sweetened by merriment and not afraid, but bold to say whose field she was crossing. Spoke the tap of her foot. It is God's field and mine. But only that she was born into the poem that God made and called the world. And the goldfinch too, and the black pond that I named my little sister, since I have none. And the muskrat with his shy hands, and the tiny life of the single pine needle, which nevertheless shines. And the priest in her beautiful vestments, her hand over the chalice, and clouds moving over the valleys of trees. All day I watch the sky changing from blue to blue. For you, God, are forever, and I am like a single day that passes. All day I think thanks for this world, for the rocks and the tips of the waves, for the tupelos and the fading roses, for the wind, for you are forever, while I am like a single day that passes. You are the heart of the cedar of Lebanon and the firs from Douglas, the bristlecone and the willow. It is close to hopeless for what I want to say. The redbird has already said, and better in 1,000 ways. The white bear lifting one enormous paw has said it better. You cannot cross one hummock or furrow, but it is his holy ground. I had such a longing for virtue. I wanted Christ to be as close as the cross I wear. I wanted to read and serve, to touch the altar linen. Instead, I went back to the woods where not a single tree turns its face away. Instead, I prayed, Lord, let me be something useful and unpretentious. Even the chimney swift sings. Even the cobblestones have a task to do, and they do it well. Let me be a flower or a sparrow or the smallest bright stone in a ring worn by someone brave and kind, whose name I will never know, but who has loved well.
That is beautiful.
I know. Isn't it great?
Her all of her nature imagery is so not trite, you know, she just uses
Yeah.
it so well.
Yeah.
Very beautiful.
And really, as we all know, if anyone's here tried to write poetry, to write poems about the beauty of nature and not make it trite is not so easy.
Not so easy.
No, it's not.
Excuse me for a second. My cat is knocking stuff off the shelf. I gotta go find out what she
Yeah.
has knocking down. Be right back. And I found the poem.
Oh, good.
She's like, it's because you're not feeding me. I'm gonna knock all your pens. All the pens are on the floor.
I just have like 3 more Mary Oliver poems, and I'm going to pass it back over to you, Farishade. Does that
All
sound
right,
good?
now,
So this one is called "The Poet Thinks About the Donkey," and it's a reference to when Jesus was being tried for blasphemy, and then of course found to be guilty, and then sentenced to death. So it's a poem about the donkey that he rode to his sentencing. On the outskirts of Jerusalem, the donkey waited. Not especially brave or filled with understanding, he stood and he waited. How horses turned out into the meadows leapt with delight. How doves released from their cages cluttered away, splashed with sunlight. But the donkey, tied to a tree, as usual, waited. Then he let himself be led away. Then he let the stranger mount. Never had he seen such crowds. And I wonder if he at all imagined what was about to happen. Still, he was what he had always been, small, dark, and obedient. I hope finally he felt brave. I hope finally he loved the man who rode so lightly upon him as he lifted one dusty hoof and stepped, as he had to, forward. I'm reminded of Baba's quote about obedience being the greatest example of love. This one is called The Uses of Sorrow. It's very short. It's about her father. Someone I once loved gave me a box full of darkness. It took me years to understand that this too was a gift. I'll read it again.
That's
Someone I loved once gave me a box of darkness. It took me years to understand that this too was a gift.
poignant.
Yeah.
I know, right? And this is the last Mary Oliver poem. There were so many good ones to choose from, but
We can't lose with her.
I know, it's true. This one is called, this is a poem she wrote after her partner died. It's called, Doesn't Every Poet Write a Poem About Unrequited Love? Oh yeah, I'm gonna skip this one. I'm gonna pass it over to you, Farishade.
What?
Yeah, I know this one's just, I don't know how I put my stickers in here. I didn't mean to put it in there. I realized after
Is this a good time for me to butt in and read? I finally found the poem I was going to read, and it does come from this book. So I don't think there's any problem.
we all had Hafez on the brain.
I guess so. I read it this morning
Yeah, Farishade, turn
at
your audio off.
and I like it. Okay, it's short. And it's sort of less a poem and more a story, which I'm finding about many of the poems in this book. Once a man came to me and spoke for hours about his great visions of God he felt he was having. He asked me for confirmation, saying, "Are these wondrous dreams true?" I replied, "How many goats do you have?" He looked surprised and said, "I am speaking of sublime visions, and you ask about goats." And I spoke again, saying, "Yes, brother, how many do you have?" "Well, Hafiz, I have 62. "And how many wives?" Again he looked surprised and then said, 4. "How many rose bushes in your garden? How many children? Are your parents still alive? Do you feed the birds in winter?" And to all he answered. Then I said, "You asked me if I thought your visions were true. I would say they were if they make you become more human, more kind to every creature and plant that you know."
Hmm. Yeah,
That's such a great Ladinsky poem.
it really
I
is.
think that works. Yeah.
But he doesn't say it's Hafez, right? Please.
Well, he says, I mean, he calls all of these, I don't know. I consider
Okay,
it,
you won't go there, Diana.
no, I just consider it, like Hafiz and Ladinsky, kind of like a blend.
Nice. Could I read another one?
Yeah, are you gonna read a Hafez poem?
No, I don't have a book of his, but I read
I'm joking.
another one from my book.
You would be the only person here that's not reading Hafez poem. So much for reading Hafez tonight.
Soul friend, kind source, draw me after your will for me. Let me run to you like a deer bowing before your beauty. Your companionship is sweeter than honey, than any delight. Splendid light of the world, my soul is sick with love for you. Please heal her, God, show her the delight of your radiance. Then she will be healed and strong and will rejoice in you eternally. Ancient one, stir up your compassion and have mercy on this one, born of your love, who so greatly desires to see your potent glory. Please, my divine joy of my heart, hurry, don't hide away. Reveal yourself, dear friend. Spread over me the shelter of your peace. Let the earth be lit by your glory. How we will delight in you. Quickly, my love. The time is coming. Show me your grace as you always have.
Wow.
Beautiful.
What is this book that you're reading from?
It's prayer book they use at the synagogue I sometimes went to.
Hmm.
You
And
know,
it's Jewish in origin, the poets or poet?
I think they wrote it. They're translating it from Hebrew.
Oh, wow.
So
You
it's a progressive church. Then that rabbi there has been voted one of the top 10 progressive rabbis in the country, and so they retranslated the Torah into a modern translation of it for they teach yoga there. It's a very progressive temple.
Yeah, and this rabbi is extremely loving and sweet and just an amazing speaker.
Wow. Tina, if that's from what you call the Siddur, which I really am not
It
familiar
is.
with, I looked it up after you read it that time in the RT, and apparently it's a book of prayers that can be said like any day during services, like it's sort of like the common poetry book for services. And there's another book that has special, if you're calling them poems, that are read only on special holidays. So this is,
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
I know. Oh, thank you for telling me that. I never got the other book. I just got this one.
And you have the book itself,
Well, I have the PDF.
a PDF of it. Okay. They're beautiful. Everything you've read from there has been beautiful.
Yeah,
I like this Jewish religion. It's very ancient.
yeah,
Mhm. And probably well preserved.
yes,
Hopefully, not too many hands went into bothering it.
right. They don't have a version of Daniel Ladinsky in Judaism.
And I think that's probably why it's so sweet, because it's so close to the energy of the,
Yeah.
you know,
It's very Baba.
yeah.
Yeah.
But, I've never been to any other synagogues, so I don't know what, how it compares to other ones.
Yeah, they're not all the same.
No, no, no.
Sometimes you get a cranky old rabbi, you just never know.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Sometimes like a really hot young lady rabbi, you just don't know.
Yeah. Or you can get the kind where they have to, the men and women have to sit in different sides and
It's like Orthodox, yeah.
really vary so intensely.
Yeah, well, that's like in the Christian religion too.
Exactly. I'm sure the Muslim faith is the same.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like if they can really speak and put their message across, like I used to love to go to this Black church with Reverend Ike, and you would just feel you were dancing in the aisles and shouting, "The presence of God in me blesses the presence of God in you." And I mean, it was just very, very joyful.
Yeah, but that was great.
It was.
I think in Islam, you'd find that joy and passion in the Sufi
Mhm.
aspect of it.
Yeah.
If they did that in my Methodist church, they'd probably call the police.
In mine, they would behead you.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm exaggerating, obviously, but
Yeah. Wow.
all right.
Yeah, Fair Share, would you like to pick up from there?
Yeah, it's a sweet one. And I wish I could have read it right after yours so we could compare, but I didn't.
Well, why don't we do this? Why don't you read this one and then Kelly, read your poem, your version again, then we can compare them. I would love to hear them together.
That'd be kind of fun, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, here goes. A lovely face from the garden of the world for us is enough. From this grassland, the shade of the graceful cypress for us is enough. May I be spared my lower self, the company of dishonest people and their heavy ladle of self-righteous hypocrisy. The generous ladle of wine for us is enough. They bestow the palace of Firdaus as reward for good deeds. We who are a rogue and a fakir, the ruination in the house of intoxication for us is enough. Sit by the flowing stream and watch the passage of your life. This hint to the passing show of the world for us is enough. Watch the give and take in the marketplace of the world and the tyranny practiced there. If that is not enough for you, this loss and gain for us is enough. The beloved is with us. Why should we quest for pilgrimage? The good fortune of having the intimate companion of our soul for us is enough. For God's sake, don't turn me away from your door to send me to paradise. Being in your alley rather than in heaven or luxuries of the world for us is enough. We do not harbor any desire other than your union. This in exchange of the goods of both worlds for us is enough. Hafez, to complain about the share of destiny is unfair. In nature like pure water and flowing ghazals like yours for us is enough.
Lovely.
Translations are just so beautiful. Really.
Really are.
They're fabulous.
Such a lovely break from the news.
What? Are you watching the news still, Tina May?
Not now.
Good. Did I just call you Tina May?
What does that mean?
I don't know. It just
It-
flowed out of my mouth.
Is that like Sharin Mai?
Yeah,
Or
maybe.
is it like they say in the South? Like,
It's like they say in the South.
you
Tina
sound
Fey.
a Southerner.
I like it though. Do you like it?
Yeah, well, I'm writing a play about Louisa May Alcott.
Oh, wow. What a coincidence. But you know, like when people are lovingly chiding someone, don't they say their middle name?
Well, let's say Daisy May and Little Abner. Yeah, I don't know if you ever heard of that.
Stop tearing my papers. So my cat had an appointment this morning, or was it yesterday? I'm not sure, at 8:30 to get spayed. And you know, in the bottom of my heart, I still didn't want it to happen so soon, because I wanted to, you know, just her to be a kitten and not to have to go through the pain of anesthesia and just this, you know, stitches. She's just too young, you know. So God is so good. So we had the appointment. I got up, and my son works night. I got up to go in the kitchen. Of course, orders were 12 o'clock. After midnight, no food, no water. So I get in the kitchen and the food is down, the water is down. Oh, my son put everything down when he got home this morning.
He didn't know.
So she scooted out of surgery, and the next one isn't until April.
Hmm?
Oh,
It doesn't go into heat.
Yeah, well, she hasn't yet,
That
but
could be
she's
unpleasant.
awfully frisky.
Yeah, because my roommate had a cat that would go into heat and she would just howl.
Yeah.
No, she's not howling. She's just very, very, very sweet girl.
Oh,
Uh,
what's her name?
Phoebe.
Hi, Phoebe.
I have a quote for you by William Carlos Williams that kind of refers back to your conversation that you all were just having, Tina and Ferrische. It is difficult to get the news from poems, yet men die miserably every day for lack of what is found there.
Yeah.
What was the one? Say the second line again.
It's so short.
okay.
It is difficult to get the news from poems, yet men die miserably every day for lack of what is found there.
Mm.
Mm.
Anyway, had to share
That
that.
was a lovely sentiment.
Mhm.
We're
Yes,
just immersing ourselves in beauty.
yes.
And are those real flowers behind you?
They are, and I wish you could be here because not only are these real flowers, but I happened to find this hyacinth, and it is emitting the most unbelievable fragrance into my nose, and it's like literally it's an intoxicating fragrance. I wish you could smell it. It's just so special.
That's totally the symbol for Persian New Year.
Is it?
Hyacinth?
Oh, we always have to have that on the table.
Oh,
Do you know about the Persian New Year and the spread they put out
Yeah.
with the 7 S's?
So
no.
what is hyacinth in Farsi?
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I don't mean to put you on the spot.
no.
It is one. It's one of the. But I thought there were 7 foods that started with S.
7 foods, but this particular flower is always on the table.
Mm,
Okay, so it doesn't have to be an S.
Anytime. It's
mm.
not, yeah, the 7, that's why I couldn't, you know, because it's not, it doesn't start with the letter
Okay.
S.
Mhm. Yeah.
But it's so intoxicating, and it
Yeah.
always takes me right to my childhood of
Oh,
growing
yeah.
up in Iran. Mhm.
Yeah. The bulbs are just beginning to come up here in Asheville. They're up about 1.5 inches. I just noticed 2 days ago.
Wow, that's
No.
cool.
It's very exciting. We're hopeful.
Yes.
We're very hopeful.
Is that early for them, or is that normal?
It's about normal. Yeah, for here.
Really?
Yeah, we get 4 full seasons, but our winters are really not that bad. We get maybe 3 short snows a year, and they last, a day and a half. And today it was 59 degrees,
Hmm.
which was just so fantastic.
Hmm.
So we actually do get days here in the wintertime, here and there, where you can go outside in your t-shirts. It's just a here and there kind of thing, but we do get them. So yeah.
But Tracy, we also do get some significant cold
Ice.
weather and snow. Maybe not very recently, but in
Yes.
past years we've really been bombarded with snow.
Yeah, we do get true winters.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unlike Myrtle Beach, which doesn't ever get one.
I remember the ice on New Year's Eve when my daughter and I came to go to a concert in Asheville, and literally we could not drive because the car was going every which way. I mean,
Yeah.
thick ice.
Yeah.
And
Dri-
those windy roads and mountain roads. Oh my God, how do you guys deal with it?
It's tricky. You have to really, it does take time to get used to it. And I remember when I first moved here, I had a 4-wheel drive. I moved here from Atlanta, and I thought, I got this. We had like one of the largest snowstorms in 30 years happened the winter I came. And so I went out in my 4-wheel drive, and about 5 minutes later, I just parked the car where it was and walked home, because I had never lived on hills. And in the snow and ice on a hill, you have no control whatsoever. And I suddenly understood how different it is to drive here than it is in Atlanta, Georgia, where everything's flat.
Yeah.
How long have you lived in Asheville?
Me,
Mm-hmm.
21 years.
Oh, a long time.
How's the weather down by your area, Telly?
It's pretty wintry. I mean, in terms of temperatures in the upper 30s, 40s, but it will get in the 50s also. So it fluctuates. We're supposed to get something of a wintry mix maybe tomorrow night, actually. I don't know if Asheville will probably get it too, I wonder.
Yeah, we're supposed to get some snow the end of the week or beginning of next week.
Mhm. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think we'll get some of that.
You
But-
have such lovely pictures on Facebook.
Oh,
I really like them.
well, thank you.
Are you a professional photographer?
I'm a professional picture taker, which
You,
like
you
everybody
look like
anything else with
flowers.
iPhone or the equivalent. I have actually a Android, but it's like an iPhone. It has a good camera, so I can, even though I don't have a very steady hand, but it compensates for that. So I don't get fuzzy pictures particularly if I'm
Oh,
careful.
they're gorgeous.
What do
Yeah,
you
yeah.
use? What kind of camera?
It's just an iPhone. I mean,
Okay.
Android.
They do get good pictures nowadays.
This actually has 3 cameras or 3 lenses. So it really kind of gives you a nice ability to do close-ups and will compensate for a shaky hand.
You can get tripods now for iPhones, tripod attachments, which are really great. Then you can do long exposures, long timed exposures with your iPhone. It's really a fun tool. And the new iPhone 12, you can shoot which is just incredible. You can shoot photographs in JPEG or in RAW. And RAW is what professional photographers shoot in. So they have really like a profound level of control in Photoshop with it. It's just amazing that you can shoot in RAW on an iPhone now, which means you can shoot professional photographs on an iPhone, which is incredible.
I have an 11 plus. I'm probably due for an upgrade.
Oh yeah, maybe. The 12 just came out about 6 months ago.
Then I just have to learn it though.
Yeah, fortunately they're easy to learn.
Yeah.
And you can get tutorials on YouTube for your iPhone. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Free.
Telly, do you have a park near you where you take these pictures?
Yeah, it's called Norfolk Botanical Garden. So it's about north of me. And it's got a lot of camellia. Has a very large rose garden. There are a lot of crepe myrtle trees of different kinds. And
So it doesn't get too cold there.
Well, it will at night. We'll get down to below freezing, but the camellias are hardy, and those things are blooming, and they're budding, they're blooming. It doesn't seem to dent their ability to shine through the year.
Oh, I love your pictures. They're very
Thank
beautiful.
you.
They make mountain hardy camellias now,
Hmm.
which is amazing.
Yeah, there's lots of varieties of camellia too.
Yes. So I just have two short poems to end with, if that's okay. One is Walt Whitman, who we haven't really explored yet. And one is David White, who we also haven't really explored very much, but I'm sure both of those names are not unfamiliar to you. This Walt Whitman poem is from his longer poem called The Song of Myself, which is so celebrated. It's one of his most celebrated poems, and this is just a portion of that poem. I believe in you, my soul. The other I am must not abase itself to you, and you must not be abased to the other. Loaf with me in the grass, lose the stop from your throat. Not words, not music or rhyme I want, not custom or lecture, not even the best. Only the lull I like, the hum of your valved voice. I mind how once we lay such a transparent summer morning, how you settled your head athwart my hips and gently turned over upon me, and parted the shirt from my bosom bone, and plunged your tongue into my bare stripped heart, and reached till you felt my beard, and reached until you felt my feet. Swiftly arose and spread around me the peace and knowledge that pass all the arguments of the earth. And I know that the hand of God is a promise of my own. And I know that the Spirit of God is a brother of my own. And that all the men ever born are also my brothers, and the women my sisters. And that a keelson of the creation is love, and limitless are leaves stiff or drooping in the fields, and brown ants in the little wells beneath them, and mossy scabs of the worm fence, heaped stones, elder, mullein, and pokeweed.
Very erotic.
Very erotic poem about the spiritual world.
I went to his house in Long Island.
Oh.
See him now. Yeah.
Oh, is it a museum?
Yeah, it's just a simple little farmhouse, but there's a big museum out front, and he was the editor of the Brooklyn Eagle, and that's about all I remember about him. He was gay. What else?
He couldn't get any traction with his poetry, so he actually wrote reviews about his poems using a false name.
Way to do it.
That was really kind of brilliant.
That's kind of clever.
It's really clever. Yeah.
It's a fine American tradition.
That's a man who believes in himself. I may end up doing that.
It's a little self-publicity, right?
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So this is a David White poem, and David White is a Welsh poet who's still living, who lives actually here in the United States. He lives in Washington State, and he was good friends with John O'Donohue, the Catholic poet John O'Donohue, who came here to Asheville, who I think we talked about this, who left the priesthood when all the revelations about sexual abuse came out of the Catholic Church. And John O'Donohue he wanted to stay a priest, but he was just so mortified by what had happened, he couldn't stay. And so he was 52 years old, and he was engaged after he left the priesthood. He got engaged, and 2 weeks before he was about to be married for the first time, he died of a heart attack. So David White he was originally a botanist, and traveled around the world leading people into the woods. And I think largely through his influence of John O'Donohue, he became a poet. This one's called Self-Portrait. It doesn't interest me if there is one God or many gods. I want to know if you belong or feel abandoned. If you know despair or can see it in others. I want to know if you are prepared to live in the world with its harsh need to change you. If you can look back with firm eyes, saying that this is where I stand. I want to know if you know how to melt into that fierce heat of living, falling toward the center of your longing. I want to know if you are willing to live day by day with the consequence of love and the bitter, unwanted passion of your sure defeat. I have heard in that fierce embrace, even the gods speak of God and of love and of longing.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I like some of his stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
He has a beautiful, by the way, and I listened to it. He has a beautiful thing that he's doing during COVID where you can sign up. If you go to his website, he releases an hour and a half long video on Sundays at 10 o'clock. And he does them in threes, and he'll do them like once a month. He'll do 3 videos, and you can sign up for them. There's a theme, and they're just fabulous. It's really like having a conversation with him, but they're quite wonderful. He just tells a lot of stories and recites a lot of poetry, and they're quite lovely.
Mm.
I really look forward to them.
I didn't know he was Welsh by birth.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yeah. I think he was raised in England, however.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And we're so happy to have him here because he travels, when it's not COVID, he travels all around the United States. He travels actually all around the world, but he travels a lot in the United States. I've seen him usually once a year the past several years. And if you're interested, when we're over COVID, he leads walking tours to Wales and to Italy, which I'm planning on going on one of those when this is all finished, when all said and done. And really recite, the whole thing is really about reciting poetry and being in the presence of poetry while you're walking in the woods.
Oh.
Doesn't that just sound like so much fun? That to me is my idea of a good time. Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, thank you all once again for our small
Good.
group.